Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster, and we are doing part 2 of What If Deku was the son of SCP-076, Abel. Now, when we last left off, it was the day before the entrance exam. Deku has one for all now, and has been training to hold back so he wouldn't kill anybody on accident. Though that fine-tuning of strength is still a work in progress. So we get to the morning. Izuku is asleep and sleeping pretty freaking hard until he ends up with a newspaper whacked into his face, hearing the words, "I am the Pirate King, fear me." When he takes a look, it's the SCP known as Pesterbot. As soon as he goes to swipe at him, his face is met with a snarling monster figure roaring directly into his face, causing him to be shocked and stumble in his own bed to fall to the ground. Which then he is met with ice cold freezing water being shot into his face by 3 squirt guns being held by 3 stuffed animal gorillas wearing jungle combat apparel. The monster that scared him then shapeshifted into a gorilla body with a robotic head, saying, "Ha ha ha, got you." But Deku gave them a very intense look. Next thing we see is the shape-shifting SCP known as Too Spooky, who has gone by the name Hyde, based off of the novel of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, jumping out the window with Pesterbot and the living stuffed gorillas known as Guerrilla Warfare clean out of his window, shattering it. Though they are chased after by Deku yelling, "I am going to kick your asses when I get you." In fear, Hyde shapeshift his lower half into that of a horse to get additional speed to get the hell away from him. As they're running, and Deku is yelling at them to get back here, it wakes up everybody else in the house, with Dr. Bright just standing in front of the front door, as Hyde and the others run right past him. Dr. Bright is laughing his ass off. Deku just sees this, thinking, "This was you, wasn't it?" Dr. Bright looks at him, saying, "Yeah, it was. I thought you could use a nice good wake-up call to get your blood pumping, considering you had the exams today." Deku's face went to surprise, yelling, "Oh crap, that's right, I gotta get dressed." Hurrying up back inside to go get dressed and grab all of his things. Though the moment he went inside his room, he saw that the SCPs known as the periodic golems were having another art show, this time on top of his desk. If you don't know what this SCP is, they're basically tiny little golems with cube heads that each are made out of a different element from the periodic table, even if it's made out of a gas or liquid. They still have a kind of humanoid, almost body structure, and tend to have art galleries, which they are now doing, as I said, on top of Deku's desk in his room. He just says, "Okay, don't have time to deal with you guys. Just make sure you're done with your little art show by the time I get home." As he rushes out of the front door, all the SCPs look out the window, waving him goodbye, saying good luck on the test. As he gets closer to the gate, he yells out, "Nymph, open the gate!" As the gate begins to open, and from a small hole in the ground filled with water, a woman whose body seems to be made out of water started to wave at Deku goodbye. This is the SCP known as the Water Nymph. There's a good sized lake on their property, and Dr. Bright had it modified with tons of tunnels and things spreading throughout their the entirety of their property. So the water nymph, aka nymph that they called her for short, is more or less an overseer of their grounds right now. As he rushes over to UA. On arrival, he is glad to be on the steps of UA and ready to get going, though still thinking that he's still going to kick, hide, pester, and those gorillas' asses when he gets back. As he takes the theory test, he does similar as in canon, if not a little better. Then we continue over to the room where President Mike explains the practical exam, which Deku is thinking about how should he do this, so he isn't muttering really for Ida to berate him. Though during when he does get ready, he puts on kind of a cloak thing his uncle prepared for him for this, with plenty of folds for him to reach in and pull out weapons, since he can only pull them out from places that people and himself can't see. Which he's then uh, has Ida walking up to him, saying, "What kind of student has tattoos, all red and black tattoos all across his body?" He just looks at him saying, no, these aren't tattoos. These are literally a part of my body." Which Ida's thinking that this might have something to do with his quirk. Which, technically not wrong, but technically is wrong, since it's an anomalous ability and not a quirk. Once President Mike sounds off the siren to go, Deku charges up one for all at the minimum / maximum he can do without going 100%, which, if I remember correctly, is about 10% of his current fine tuning of one for all. He jumps into action, bearing, pulling out two swords, surprising everybody because those swords would not fit inside of his clothes where he pulled them from. So they figured it's probably some kind of creation quirk. He hacks and slashes the robots with ease, even more than usual, with the power of One for All boosting him. He even uses the chains he creates and controls to latch on to robots and throw them around into other robots, especially when one of them is about to harm one of the other examinees. So he gets not just combat points, but a good number of hero points. When all of a sudden, the ground starts shaking and a bunch of the other examinees start running away. When he turns around, he sees the 0-pointer, thinking, seriously? That's a bit overkill for a test. But then suddenly he hears someone yelling out for help, who turns out to be Uraraka. He instantly runs straight towards her, pulling out a staff with a large mace on the end. When the hand got close to Uraraka, he used his strength to slam his weapon into the hand, completely destroying it all the way up to the shoulder, sending the robot back a little bit, but not tilting. Then Deku jumped straight up to the robot, smashing him in the face full on like in Cannon, though without the broken bones this time, and lands into the ground without issue, though he has now made a bit of a crater. Which is when now the test is over. When we have the recovery girl coming, obviously, healing people, giving them the gummy bears, healing Oraka once he got to her. And once he got the Deku looking in the crater, she was worried until he just popped out of the crater, uncovering the rubble that was on top of him. Just saying, ugh, that was annoying. I had to practice on the landing. She checks him and sees that he doesn't have a scratch on him. Any damage that did occur is healed up by now by his regeneration. As he thinks, so this is the boy Toshi chose to have the bear one for all. Quite powerful, this one. So he goes back home where his family asks how it went. He says that he pretty sure that he did good on the theory exam and the practice exam, though he said that he was surprised that that giant robot was a part of the practice exam. And that it was supposed to be an obstacle, though considering it's so large and doesn't have it give you any points, that he guesses it does count as an obstacle. As the time goes, Deku receives his letter from UA. And instead of taking it into his room, he takes it into the family room, which for them is incredibly large in that house. All the SCPs are watching, waiting in anticipation. And as he opens it, it shows All Might congratulating him on getting into UA, as well as getting the top score, surpassing even his old score. Which all of his family members just cheers, congratulating him, saying that they should celebrate. And at this point, Dr. Bright and Inko are already calling the Bakugos as well as the Yayorozus to come over to celebrate, which they mentioned that their kids are also in UA. So the next day, they do have a bit of a party, and they tried to make it a little bit low key with the parents and stuff, but they end up using the SCP known as the Never Ending Pizza Box. Basically, just giving everybody their favorite pizza. They have their own whole pizza of their favorite type, with whatever toppings is their favorite. And yes, that is an SCP, and it is an SCP that I think I would suit somebody for. Don't question me on this. It is endless pizza. Endless of my favorite pizza. So they start eating. Though Dr. Bright was being a bit sly again by using some instances of another food-related SCP, one of which that has a piece of cake on it. Basically, just a plate with a piece of cake on it. After eating a piece of the cake, a second piece of cake showed up, making it an endless supply of cake, and a different kind of cake each time you finished one. Though they explained it just saying that it was the witch girl whose hero name she goes by and name that she prefers to go by in the house, Salem. And while everybody's enjoying themselves, having pizza, endless pizza, and literally endless cake, Deku asks Momo they could talk, and they go off. They walk a bit, going to the lake on on Deku's property, and Momo asks, "What's up?" Deku looks at her a little bit tensed and tells her that he has feelings for her and asks if it would be okay if they went out. Momo blushes a bit and sighs, but she does say, "Yes, I do." Which then they notice a small female head made out of water poking out, along with some of the husky dogs in the behind the bushes. Deku said, "Can we not have some privacy?" Instantly they ran off. Then Deku what realized something chasing after them, but it was too late. Part of the things that they have at that house are numerous signs with wording on them that those particular dogs have the ability to edit to talk to people, and they full on told everybody that Momo and Deku are a couple now before Deku got there. Which, when he did, along with Momo, everybody was just looking at him. Even Cthulhu was looking smug, and that's hard to tell with a guy whose face has tentacles on it. So he just says, "I am going to roast those dogs." Which Momo does what she can to calm him down, which does work. Though he's still not happy with those dogs. Though his anger towards those dogs then leads to him chasing down Hyde, the gorillas, and Pester again, remembering what they did on the morning of the entrance exams. Bakugo is laughing his ass off at this, and Momo's asking why is he chasing them, which Deku's Uncle Bright explains, which just made her laugh now, saying, "Oh, that sounds like the most brutal wake up call ever." Well, at least one of them. We continue over to the first day of UA. Deku walks over with Momo to Class 1A, where they're surprised by the size of the door, and walks in, where they see Bakugo arguing with Ida again, and Momo and Deku are just not surprised by him anymore. Though Bakugo, in this one, after Ida ran up explaining that Deku is a better student than him, noticing the secret requirements for the exam, Bakugo comes up saying, "Nerd, I am going to destroy that thing." Which Ida's and the others are confused, but then Momo and Deku remember something, that while they were chowing down and Bakugo was having an eating contest with some of the other SCPs, almost going into a food coma, his anger ended up causing the 999, SCP-999, a giant orange gelatinous slime, tackle Bakugo from being aggressive, which, if you don't know what SCP-999 does, it basically puts the person under a euphoria effect. So Bakugo was just chill now. Like he was beyond relaxed. Like the exact opposite of the Bakugo everybody who's seen My Hero knows, which makes Bakugo extremely mad that that thing keeps grabbing him every time he goes to Deku's house and just forcing him to be chill. Though he doesn't mind the smell of bacon he smells whenever it does grab him. Which, another thing it does, it makes it, whenever you're embraced by it, it smells you. Though Bakugo even hates it even more because it tickled him, since SCP-999 is known as the Tickle Monster, tickling him to the point he threw up the pizza he was eating for the eating contest he was having with some of the other SCPs. Which made him even madder, which then had him tackled again by SCP-999, which in this we're gonna say his nickname is Jelly, which isn't pretty accurate. He's just a happy, smiling, gelatinous blob, which Momo and Deku remember and are just cracking up. And that is interrupted by Uraraka coming up from behind them, saying that she recognizes that messy hair and continues thanking Deku for saving her from the zero pointer after getting pinned from the rubble. Then Aizawa interrupts them, complaining that it took them too long to quiet down. Grabbing the PE uniforms from his sleeping bag, which I don't know why they're in there, but still. He grabs them and tells them to get dressed in their gym clothes and meet them on the sports field. Obviously, they had the same complaints as in canon, and they head to the dressing room, where the guys question Deku about his markings, and he just says it's part of his quirk. Which they're wondering how are red and black markings across his body part of his quirk. So we get to the field, and Aizawa throws the ball at Deku, telling him to toss it as hard as he can and to use his quirk. Deku asked, are you serious? He said, yes. We need to know, well, I need to know what your capabilities are with your quirks. This works as a good benchmark. And Deku said, so I can go all out. Aizawa said, that's what I said, isn't it? Deku smirks, walking over to the circle, giving it 100% of one for all, just blasting the ball just out of there. And with his enhanced strength from that he gained from his father, or inherited from his father, as well as one for all, it goes like I would say 3,000 meters, maybe more. It's hard to gauge how much 100% would be in this scenario, but I'm just gonna go with it like 3,000, which shocks everybody, and everybody's getting excited to be able to use their quirks now. Though Bakugo's pissed, thinking, yeah, he's been holding back on me. But then he realizes what he can do, and kind of thinking, maybe I shouldn't have him hit me head on with that. suddenly being glad that he isn't on the receiving end of a punch from that, which anybody would. We can. So the physical continues, and Deku obviously is at number one. Though he had to hold back on some things, considering he didn't want to cause any damage or any trouble. So he had to hold back a bit on the long jump and the high jump. On things like the grip test, he full on broke the thing. So we keep going, and Mr. Aizawa shows the results. Deku gets the highest one, obviously. As for the last one, it was Mineta, which is when Aizawa reveals that no one's getting expelled. Which Momo then does her little statement saying that it was obviously a motivation thing, and people still thinking that she should have said something. After that, Momo, Bakugo, and Deku leave, being caught up by Uraka and Ida, and, as well as Kirishima, who are introduce themselves or saying hello and going back home to the train station and all that. Once they're back, Deku tells his family about his day and congratulates him. Then we continue to the next day, where this time we kind of meet at lunch, where the class of 1A are talking, and they ask about Deku and his appearance. He says that he took a lot after his dad. The markings, skin color, and eye color are from him. And when they asked if he was a hero or something, some kind of foreign hero, he replied with, "No, my dad died shortly after I was born. He did so making sure I could live," which kind of made people feel bad, but he just smiled, saying, "But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. I'm grateful to him for everything. Even if I didn't get to know him, my family tells me all kinds of stories about him. Like, well, I normally say it's a week because it's embarrassing to say it was 3 weeks, but he was so stubborn that it took 3 weeks for him to concede to a tie in tic-tac-toe with my uncle Bright. Which they're like, dang, can anyone be that stubborn? And they're even asked about some of his family members. Momo and Bakugo remark that they met his family and saying that their quirks tend to be weird and all, and that they even have some quirk animal, that they have a good bit of quirk animals there as well. Though whenever they normally visit, some of the more hard to explain ones are put away, like guerrilla warfare and such. Then they even asked, like what? Well, Momo got kind of sweat drop on her head talking about Josie. When they asked who Josie was, she replied, "It's a quirk animal that is only half of a cat." They're, they just look at her saying, "What?" She continued saying that it's literally just half of a cat. It acts and does things like a normal cat with a whole body, but its backside half is completely gone. It only has a front half, but it still walks and does everything like it has a normal cat body. And if you try to grab where the back half is supposed to be, it's just there. And they're like, What kind of house are you living in? Which then Bakugo chimes in that has nothing on those little eye things. Then they're like, wait, what? Bakugo just looks at him saying, you don't want to know. Alright? Just know that their names are Dot and Dash. And we're talking about the SCPs that are, I believe, 131 -1 and -2, which are the iPods. If you don't know what those are, look it up. They're basically a yellow and orange teardrop shaped bean creature thing with a gyro ball on the bottom for them to move very fast on their own. And they each have a single eye that never blinks. Bakugo just remembers those things circling around his feet non-stop as he was trying to get away from 999. He just remarks, it's his place. It's a literal madhouse of all kinds of crazy quirks and stuff. But they're just looking at Deku as he's eating, thinking, what kind of family? Now I kind of want to go to his house just to see what it's like. We keep going to the after lunch to where he goes through all of his classes, and we get to the hero class. Once we get there, All Might introduces himself and tells everybody that they're doing combat training, or as well as pulling out the costumes from the drawers in the wall. But Deku has his already that was made by Dr. Bright's company that he owns. As for what it looks like, we have steel boots that are similar to the current ones in canon of his costume, as well as a similar mask. But other than that, it's black combat pants with plenty of pockets, along with a red with silver markings on it, kind of jacket cloak thing with multiple folds to pull out all kinds of weapons on the side of his torso, on the side of the outside of the arms, even big openings on the sleeves where its hands come out to also pull weapons from. Completed with a hood. So All Might still gives his speech about how clothes make the pros and all that, and uh, explains the test. As in canon, the teams stay the same. Deku and Uraraka plan out their strategy and talk about how Bakugo might end up going after him head on first and to just go ahead and get to the bomb. He agrees, asking why. He just says, me and Bakugo have always had kind of a rivalry, which she's pretty amped up about, like in canon. As they go in, when the test starts, Bakugo goes right for Deku, which we get a flashback where Bakugo tells Ida that he'll deal with Uraraka while he keeps Deku busy. Deku is still called Deku, and he did explain to the class about that, but it's more of the positive view on it rather than the negative view like Bakugo intended in canon. We keep going, and Bakugo full on barrage him with multiple attacks, doing everything he can to run the clock. After seeing his incredible strength in the fitness exam, he thinks keeping airborne and moving would be his best chance to get around him and keep him distracted to run the clock down, while Ida can keep the bomb away from Uraraka. After taking some hits, Deku's had enough and pulled out a chain, controlling it to go after Bakugo. While he tries to get away, he gets ready to use his howitzer, or his not his howitzer. He gets ready to use his gauntlet attack, which completely blows him away a bit into the same room as in canon. His clothes are tattered up now, and goes and says, "All right, that's enough." He powers up one for all at the point where he wouldn't kill Bakugo, rushes towards him, giving him a nice gut punch, while also pulling out a chain to wrap him up and restrain him, using it to swing him around, slamming him through a wall. Once Bakugo was nice and knocked out, he used the capture tape, with All Might saying, "Bakugo captured." Deku hurries up and gets to the bomb, where he finds Uraraka having some trouble, which is when Deku uses his chains with the shackles on the ends, controlling them to latch onto Ida's legs while he was running, focusing more on Uraraka, yanking them, causing him to fall, giving Uraraka a chance to touch the bomb, making it weightless to catch it, allowing the heroes to win in their test this time around, with Deku giving MVP of this test. Bakugo was pissed at this, though he was pissed after he woke up in the nurse's office. As he got back to class, he asked, "Where is Deku?" And they tell him that he actually is going home. He runs over to Deku this time, saying, "I am not going to lose to you again. Hear me?" With Deku looking, just smirking, saying, "All right, then bring it on." Momo comes back, rushes back, saying, "Sorry, thanks for waiting at the gate." With Uraraka and Ida coming up about a second or two later, and them going back home. Though Bakugo stays a little bit behind to try to just blow off some steam with his explosions. Not destroying everything, but just causing explosions just to blow off steam from his loss. This is where we'll be ending it for now. Hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And see you later.